The latest jobs report is further confirmation of a strong labor market in the U.S., one that may be slowing down but has proven more resilient than many have expected. Many sectors are continuing to add jobs, but that is not true in the tech sector, where a number of companies have announced layoffs. Our economics correspondent Paul Salmon looks at what that means for those workers and why the struggles in tech may not be as problematic for the wider economy as one would think.
7 weeks into her dream job as a software engineer at Meta, the company formerly known as Facebook, Julia Gonick was suddenly laid off.
It's like the ground just fell out from underneath me, and all of my opportunities in the future that I saw for myself just completely disappeared.
Now, the ink barely dry on her MIT diploma, the computer science major is looking for a new job.
The market is just not great right now, so that makes interviewing and looking for a new job more stressful, since you just don't know if there are jobs out there or if you can get a job that you would actually like to do and want to do.
Especially jobs that pay like big tech.
Software engineers at these big companies definitely make very good money right outside of college, definitely 6 figures starting salary.
Plus a signing bonus. 3 weeks ago, Gonick was one of 11,000 laid off at Meta without warning. 13% of the company, one of more than 140,000 tech workers who've already lost their jobs this year, making headlines worldwide. Especially worried, those on a work-sponsored visa which allows them to remain in the U.S.
It is extremely stressful being in that ambiguous state, being in feeling really vulnerable and really helpless.
For 4 years, Samya Iyer was a product designer at the ride-sharing app Lyft. She has 60 days to find a job or go back to India.
On the day of layoffs, you're instantly logged out of all your applications, all your systems, all your apps, all your documents.
4 years of work that you were simply instantaneously logged out of?
Yes.
Nobody to call to say, hey, can you just give me a couple of days to download some stuff?
The moment you're laid off, you have till the end of the day.
So what did you do?
I had a lot of exit formalities to complete, so that took most of my day.
And all that time you're thinking, how do I retrieve
Work.
The work you've done for your portfolio?
Right. It was driving me crazy. I had to compromise on a lot of great companies because everyone instantly wants to see work.
And she couldn't access any of hers. So, massive disruption in tech, massive layoffs, a harbinger of deep recession?
You know, Silicon Valley has burned down many times, and every time it burns down, it reinvents itself. But this time it isn't a forest fire. It's just a hedge trimming.
Longtime Silicon Valley entrepreneur Vivek Wadhwa.
This is nothing like the dot-com burst. The dot-com burst had global consequences, and it was huge. It set the economy back for years to come. This is just a minor correction.
Economist Betsy Stevenson agrees.
What I'm seeing is a sector that hired more than most other sectors did during the pandemic. They're pulling back a little bit with layoffs, and we're still dealing with monthly jobs reports that are showing us job growth that's bigger than almost any single month we had prior to the pandemic. So I don't think there's any reason to worry that there are some people losing their jobs because, there are hundreds of thousands of others gaining jobs.
Of course, that doesn't make it any easier for those workers laid off. But Stevenson actually has a positive big picture reframing.
When the pandemic began, technology was our savior. We turned to technology to be able to work from home, to be able to shop from home, to be able to talk to our doctors from home. But I do think that, it's run its course in terms of that growth, and the fact that that is resulting in the tech sector having layoffs, to me, symbolizes that we've reached the end of this pandemic era.
I actually think that the recent wave is a bit overdue and maybe good for the rest of the economy.
And there's actually an upside to the layoffs, claims techno-optimist Eric Brynjolfsson, who runs the Digital Economy Lab at Stanford.
There's a ton of really great tech talent that's been tied up in activities that may not be creating that much value, especially I'm thinking of crypto. Meanwhile, the real need is to have tech folks go and transform the rest of America, manufacturing, retailing, finance. healthcare most of all. And we need to unleash some of the talent in that part of the economy.
I put this to the talent itself.
I think that's possible. I have been looking at some job opportunities in the healthcare sector, for example. So it's definitely somewhere that I may end up.
I was always more passionate to be in healthcare or something that has to do with like food and health services, or something that has to do with education and learning, etc. So now I feel that it's a good time to recalibrate and rethink about the future.
In some, a rough ride for sure for laid off tech talent, especially from abroad. But for the economy, and eventually even the talent, maybe, just maybe, a harbinger of health. For the PBS NewsHour, this is Paul Salman, reporting, although still sometimes remotely, at what we all pray is the dawn of the post-pandemic era.